Hey, I have called this vlog How to Marry a Billionaire. Because I do a lot of talking about politics, we've talked about relationships, and I thought it was time to have a look at the astrological features of people who make a lot of money. And I've called it Who Wants to Marry a Billionaire because wouldn't it be kind of handy if you could see the signs early on and maybe choose a billionaire or choose one for your son and daughter, because once they start to haul in the loads of cash they become surrounded by supermodels, agents, corrupt politicians, shysters, charlatans and all sorts of people, a gaggle of all the great and the good, and it's just no way you can get access to them. So you've got to pick them early when they're a spotty teenager working on some wacky project in their garage. So it's kind of handy to know these signs, and who knows, you might be able to find the billionaire in yourself, or maybe there might be a billionaire watching. Who knows? Please, if you are a billionaire and you're watching this broadcast, let us all know. And by the way, I have a Patreon account. Okay, so I have a list that I looked for, the Forbes 2017 billionaires list, and I took 110 billionaires off there, and I took 10 UK billionaires, added it to that. There was no birth data for about 7 of them, so I ended up with 113 billionaires. And I looked things like, well, of course, I don't have birth times for them, so I've gone for the basic birth date. So we've looked at sun sign, moon sign, and key aspects. Now, I said this wasn't going to get political because I do a lot of political astrology, but don't worry, there is going to be a little bit political comment in here because I just couldn't resist. And you know, you're talking about billionaires, there's no billionaires without a whole lot of politicians and politics surrounding them. So, you know, we will be talking about politics as well. So, what was I expecting to find? Well, here we have my kind of assumptions of what we might find in the billionaires chart. And what we have down here, which I've just covered up, are the results I got. So let's see. I thought, for example, sun sign, that we would be seeing a lot of Capricorn. Well, we all know Capricorn is the money sign. They're a very ambitious sign of the zodiac. They work hard, sort of blood, sweat and tears. They never give up. They plod on. They're persistent, consistent, good business instincts. So I expected to see quite a few Capricorns there. Number 2, I had there Cancer. Now, Cancer and Capricorn are quite similar because they both have that driving ambition. They both have managerial skill. But Cancer have much better instincts and gut feel and intuition that they rely on. They're also very good readers of people. They work well with groups. They communicate very well with the public. So that's what gives Cancer maybe an added advantage that Capricorn don't have. Capricorn are quite clinical, strategic, whereas Cancer have that people element that can make it really successful. I also thought that Geminis would feature heavily in our billionaire list because what's most making money all about, most business about, is selling. Selling products, selling ideas, selling yourself. And Geminis have fantastic communication skills. They're really good at selling ideas. Geminis also have longevity and they have a massive amount of energy. So those seem to me key attributes of people who can become billionaires. So I've also looked at the moon sign. Right up there, I've got moon in Taurus. That's what I'm expecting to find. Because when you look at any list of billionaires, there are going to be a certain amount of there who have inherited wealth. Taurus, moon in Taurus is a sign of inheriting wealth from your parents, having quite a spoilt upbringing. But moon in the earth signs, because I've also included moon in Virgo as a possibility for these billionaires. Moon in earth signs is extremely productive. They have this need to be productive, to be working. They've got a very good work ethic, always putting in an emphasis on keeping busy. So you'd expect to see that. Also, moon in Taurus is very acquisitive. They like to accumulate stuff. They're very security orientated, and money equals security. So there's this drive to amass wealth for security reasons. I was thinking we'll also find moon in Scorpio. Why? Because moon in Scorpio is quite Machiavellian, quite scheming in a way, I'd say, strategic. They read through the lines, they're quite cunning, play cards close to their chest. They're shrewd movers, very shrewd in business, so I would expect to see them there. They don't suffer fools gladly either. They're quite incisive, clinical. I'm also expecting to see moon in Aries because they're real vibrant, go-getters, fearless and daring. As Del Boy says, EU days wins, yeah? So I expect to see a few Aries moons there. I've also done moon phases, so people born at full moon, new moon, gibbous moon, to see if there's any particular moon phase that shows up more than the others. I haven't got that listed there. And then I'm looking at what aspects I expect to find. So I've outlined 4 key aspects. They're all squares. It's possible you might find these in aspect in the conjunction as well, or possibly the opposition, but I'm thinking the square will predominate, because in astrology, the square, although it's seen as like one of the more difficult aspects, it also provides more thrust, more momentum, more push, more grit. And so if you've got that square, it's more likely you won't have a degree of complacency that allows you to rest on laurels. You'll be driven really to make more progress. So what we've got, Jupiter square Saturn. Now that's a classic one for business ability and for wealth. It's also a classic one for people who are born into wealth. So I'm expecting to see quite a few of those showing up because of the business ability represented. Jupiter square Saturn people will often be involved in traditional businesses, so like construction, banking, property. I have one example of those. Donald Trump has got Jupiter square Saturn, and we do know that his parents were had amassed a fair amount of wealth, and he was given a kickstart by his father giving him, I think, $13 million. Now you'll get a lot of people that will say to you, oh well, you know, if I had a dad who gave me 13 million, blah blah blah, I could also be a billionaire. And that's not quite right, because if you look at in the UK, for example, the National Lottery creates millionaires, multi-millionaires, regularly on a weekly basis, and yet none of them become Donald Trump. So it's really what you're able to do with that money. But again, I talked about traditional industries, and you know, Trump is in construction, hotels, sort of traditional. Next one that's prevalent is Jupiter square Pluto. Now this shows a need for power, a desire. It's like the plutocrats, you know, a desire to amass wealth for the power it gives you. It also shows the ability to play the political game and to lobby. And as I'll be talking about later, a lot of being successful is about politics and how you play the politicians and how you get involved in like public-private partnerships, and you play the political game. So I expect to see quite a few of those. We also have Saturn square Pluto. I'm thinking there'll be a lot of Saturn square Pluto represented in this, because those are the blood, sweat and tears billionaires. They're the ones who have a driving urge to confront an inner insecurity. They're people who've often been bullied or felt an outsider, and they have this great desire to prove themselves and also to amass money as a way of compensating for an inner insecurity, or for compensating for a time in their life when they didn't have power and they want to feel secure. A bit like what I said about Moon in Taurus. Then we have, I have that one actually, so we'll see. Then we have Jupiter square Neptune, another one I have, and yet I'm not really a billionaire yet. Could happen, who knows. So Jupiter square Neptune, those that kind of represent people who have a lot of vision. Elon Musk has got that one. And they represent billionaires who are involved in emerging industries, you know, something new, something where you have to catch the trend right at the beginning. You have to have that vision to be able to see, wow, this is going to be big, I'm going to get in the start and I'm going to make money. So these people who gamble, not gambling as in running into Vegas to blow their money, gamble in terms of going with an idea, with an instinct and intuition, and those sort of billionaires will show up with that aspect. I'm also going to be looking to see about planets on the nodes. I haven't got any preconceived ideas here. I'm wondering, you know, whether we'll find Pluto, Neptune or Saturn significant on the south or north nodes. So that is what I expected to find. That's my analysis. Let's think a little bit about the list. So I've got this list from Forbes magazine. Now my hunch tells me, my intuition anyway, tells me that a lot of the world's richest people are not on this list. I think the really, really rich guys, who are probably trillionaires, want to be a little bit more under the radar. They don't want the profile of appearing on lists like this. So I think this list can be misleading. And big disappointment to the people at the top of this list, like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and Jeff Bezos, is that Sky News recently reported last week that Putin is actually the world's richest man, and he's just hiding all the money away. All his, best friends that live here in London are hiding it for him. Now, I don't know what sort of friends Mr. Putin's got, but I don't know if I'd be trusting a whole lot of friends to sort of hide my money for me, so I don't know about that theory. But as the Forbes list goes, richest man is Bill Gates, Scorpio, and he has, Jupiter, is it conjunct Pluto? Yes, he has the Jupiter Pluto. And the second man on the list, Warren Buffett, who is a Virgo, also has the Jupiter Pluto. Other people on this list, quite interesting, we've got Sergey Brin, Mark Zuckerberg. At number 29, we have probably the world's least favourite billionaire. I'll give you a clue. He's got a surname that sounds like he got a right kicking in the backside. We also have people like the guy from Nike, which and the people from Marswell, which has a lot of money to be made in making people fat and then getting them fit again. We've also got, who else? Well, I was really intrigued by number 4 on the list. It's a a Mancini Ortega from Zara, the fashion retail firm. Now it seems weird where you've got people like the Google reps and Facebook and all these techie giants at the top of the list there, to have someone from a fashion chain. Especially as Zara, it was one of the last major clothing retailers to get a decent website. In fact, their website is still pretty and I think unless you're over 5'10", their clothes really don't fit you. I don't know, I'm just surprised by that one, I must say. The people from H&M are also on this list, and Walmart, Billionaires, and quite a few, it's mainly Americans, but we do have some other people like Carlos Slim from Mexico, and quite a few Chinese. And I was interested to note quite a few Russian oligarchs entering the list. I think that, in Russia, with the KGB, they don't give you a P45. They just, when you retire, they just throw you in industry. During the days of Boris Yeltsin, I think he was like a bride, but instead of throwing bouquets over his shoulder for people to catch, he was throwing, here, catch mining, catch gas, catch whatever else, gold. So I think that's how the industries were given up post the Soviet era. And I know people like Boris Berezovsky, who's not around anymore, was accused of asset stripping Aeroflot. So it was when I was thinking of these Russian millionaires and kind of dissing them in a way, I thought, no, wait, why am I doing that? Because I'm thinking now about the kind of people who are on the billionaire list and their links to government. For example, Elon Musk has had $4 billion in government grants, government subsidies. Now, $4 billion is the equivalent of Donald Trump's net worth. So Elon Musk has had the equivalent of Donald Trump's net worth in terms of subsidies and government grants, which shows you that what I said about Jupiter Pluto, you've got to know how to play the game with the government. It's almost like it's a rigged system. At the beginning of the game, the winners are already chosen. It depends what your links are with government, whether you're going to get those essential grants or essential laws in your favour, or whatever you need. So it's very important to play the game with government if you're going to be a billionaire. It's more than just making money, it's being able to play that political game. And when you see as well with like the Google reps, Google has taken over a lot of NASA's old bunkers and their old facilities. They use a lot of their own old satellites. Sergey Brin's father was a maths professor, was brought over by the CIA. So again, do you see this government link? Then you think about Facebook. And you think, who needs surveillance when people are volunteering all the information on a public forum like Facebook? It really is a dream for data gathering, for potentially blackmailing people in the future. There was an incident recently with a coach of the soccer team in the UK, and they looked back at what he'd said on Facebook in 2005, and it wasn't feminist friendly, and he was kind of in trouble with that. So you think, this is a great tool, Facebook. It's more than a tool for industries, for commerce. It's a tool that government can use. So you wonder, there's kind of a link there, isn't it? It's almost as if certain people get a key bit of information that enables them to crack on and get a head start on everyone else, to form these what become monopolies, really, media monopolies. And I think it's quite interesting. It was always interesting to me why everyone on these billionaire lists always seems to be on the same page in terms of the political agenda. They're always on that kind of neoliberal bandwagon, aren't they? And I thought, well, it's a bit of coincidence that everyone becomes rich, tends to have exactly the same views, and I thought, well, it's no coincidence at all, is it? It's like what I said about the rigged system. So anyhow, I think that's enough politics for now, so I've definitely covered all that. What have we got next? So let's see what the results were. Alright, I'm just going to lift this up carefully. Don't want any accidents of it falling down. So what did we discover? Well, I know all you Arians out there are saying, well, duh, we knew we were going to be top of the list. I don't know why you even bothered to do the survey. It was obvious that us Rams were going to top the list. And yes, Aries, I give it to you. I underestimated you guys. I'm very sorry. Please save your wrath. You were top of the list. In fact, Aries were quite way in front. They are 15 of the billionaires are Aries. And the standard deviation is 2.6, so it's almost double the standard deviation above the average, which is 9. So well done, Aries. You topped the poll. Coming second was Libra, and again, I must admit, mea culpa, I have underestimated Libra. I should have had them at the top there because I know Librans know how to play their politics. I know they're tough, they're fair, they're great negotiators. So yeah, it was pretty obvious Libra were going to be there. And coming in, joint third, we have Scorpio and Leo, two of the fixed signs, and then just below them, we've got Taurus and Aquarius. No, more of the fixed signs. So yeah, you would expect fixed signs to excel because they do well in the world of the material. Gemini is also joint fourth there, coming in at 10. So I'm surprised Gemini was that low. I would have expected them to be higher. Next we have Pisces, Capricorn. Really, Capricorn, you're below average, coming in at 7. I'm really surprised about that. What is going on with you Capricorns? Cancer, even worse, 5, 4 below average. And right at the bottom of the list we have Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, you really need to pull your socks up and find out what's going on. Now, what do we have in terms of the moon sign? Well, the moon sign, I'm pleased to say, I was bang on. I said it would be moon in Taurus, and it is. 14 people with moon in Taurus. In joint second place, we have moon in Virgo, again, which I said, moon in Sagittarius, and moon in Leo. I suppose, yes, moon in Leo, you know, they love the limelight. They're very good at pushing themselves forward. They're very demanding. Moon in Sagittarius, I sense a little bit of the gambler there, the hunches, the going with the intuition, having very big ideas and a vision. Then in joint third, it's Cancer and Aquarius. There were 9 of those. Joint fourth, Aries, Pisces, and Libra. They're all 8 each. And then it's Gemini with 7. And the least was moon in Scorpio. Only 3. Well, I actually think the people who are really rich and have moon in Scorpio are those billionaires who know how to keep under the radar, if you ask me. Maybe that's why there's so few Sagittarians as well. Maybe they also know it's better to stay under the radar. So what about our aspects? Let's see who was performing well. Well, out of the Jupiter square Saturn, we had 16 people with Jupiter square Saturn. That was really high. And Jupiter opposite Saturn was 3. So 19 all in all. So 19 of that aspect very well represented. As far as the Jupiter square Pluto, we've got 9 of the square. 6 of the conjunction, 15 at all, in all of those. And as you see again, the square very highly represented. In terms of Jupiter square Pluto, 13 of the square, 4 of the conjunction, 17 all in all. And Jupiter square Neptune, we have 4 of the conjunction, 9 of the square, giving rise to 13. So the most prevalent was the Jupiter square Saturn. So again, I see that as meaning the inherited wealth side has a big impact on whether you'll be a billionaire. For the current crop of billionaires, there's a lot of that going on. In terms of the node, I found that there was 8 instances of Saturn on the south node, 9 instances of Saturn on the north node, and 8 instances of Neptune on the south node. Now I see that as in the case of Neptune on the south node represents your ability to not only use hunches and intuition, but to recognize upcoming trends and jump on that bandwagon and be with the trend. But it's important when Neptune is on the third that you know you usually the first one on a trend when it's not popular to be on that trend. So you have to have that courage and your own convictions to know that what's really only a ceiling now and it's not widely recognized as being a trend, in fact something that people may be widely skeptical of, you can recognize the potential in that thing to grow into a massive big opportunity. So that's why that's there. In terms of the quite big prevalence of Saturn, because what 8 and 9 is 17 instances of Saturn on either the north or the south node. That's karma for you. Karma from a last life perhaps playing through to this life, or karma in this life where you're given opportunity to perhaps rectify a situation in a previous life where you were very poor. Now you've gone to the other extreme and become very rich. So that would, or perhaps karma where you did great things in a previous life and now you're receiving a reward. So that's how I would interpret that. In terms of the moon phases, I found that it was most unlikely that billionaires would be born on a full moon. All the other, whether you're born at a new moon or the crescent, all the others were equally likely, but the full moon is the least likely. Donald Trump is also a full moon person, so one example of that. But that was the least likely. It was also less likely you would be a billionaire if you were born the day after or before a new moon, or the day after or before a full moon. So there you go. So when you aggregate it all out, the most likely people to become a billionaire would be an Aries with Taurus moon with a Jupiter-Saturn square. And yes, a rich mommy and daddy definitely helps. And being born an American helps, okay? Or possibly having been in the KGB helps. Or be well connected with the Chinese. Yeah, that could help as well. So yeah, all those things. So I hope this has been a little bit of fun. and given you an insight. So yeah, and an ego boost if you're on that list. So look out and see if you've got any of those aspects. I've got 2 of them. Elon Musk actually has the same 2 as I have. Yeah. And he found out recently that Elon Musk spent a year at Bryanston High, which was like the rival high school to the school I went to. Quite amazing that, you know, we could have even kind of crossed paths at some point. Yeah, well, who knows, 6 degrees of separation and all that. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that, guys. I've got some more vlogs hopefully coming up today, and hopefully plenty in the pipeline, because they all kind of plan, but you kind of have to wait for the shoes to drop and everything to fall into place, and then I get going. So please join my Facebook page, Lisa Lazuli Astrology, where I'll be posting a lot of my videos and content, and also doing some lives. I'm on Patreon. I'm also going to be doing some stuff for Steam It, so I'm going to be all over the place. Please follow me. Thank you for all the great comments and the reactions. Really appreciate it. Thanks.